Ordered our first expedition into space to bring back the secret of how other planets got their state limousines to run smoothly. The target was picked with painstaking scientific accuracy. Destination Earth.
Unlike me, my dad Jerry had an at times overpowering drive for success. Born and raised in South London and out of school by 13, he was streetwise and charismatic, comfortable in a suit, yet a kid at heart. He met my mother in her home country of Sweden, where my sister and I were both born. But we moved to New York City when I was 9 months old, and Dad got a job at the Empire State Building as a general manager. I always saw him as a full-time provider, part-time parent, but when we did do things together, he always tried to make it count. He died of a heart attack in 2005 at the age of 42. For better or worse, he was the kind of guy who would surprise you with his ideas, but nothing surprised me more than one he had long before I was born.
Your dad was a chancer.
He looked different. He had the haircut, he had the makeup.
He was obviously a character to look at. You know, he looked out the ordinary.
Didn't have the best voice in the world, but he absolutely did not give a shit what he did on stage.
Doing all this and he's giving it all and he's, thinking he's David Bowie and Iggy Pop. Well, actually, he was never Iggy Pop. He didn't have the stamina to throw himself around.
My dad was the lead singer of a band called Martian Dad in late 70s London, at a time when teenagers' lives revolved around going to gigs and living in the moment. Though I always knew my dad was in a band, I never knew the extent of their success nor his enthusiasm. And one of my biggest regrets is that I never once listened to their music with him. So I decided to find out what really happened, to uncover the truth behind my dad's past as a rock star. I tracked down each of the 3 other band members, and 2 of them agreed to meet me at Alaska Studios in Waterloo, Martian Dance's first rehearsal space, just a stone's throw away from the flat my dad grew up in.
I'd always had a guitar knocking around the house, but never really picked it up until about 13, whacking a few chords out. And by virtue of the fact I could whack a few chords out, Jerry, when we met up at the Roebuck on King's Road, said, "Oh, I'm in a band, let's form bands. Do you know anyone else that can play?" We knew Duncan had a drum kit in his house, whacking about on it.
I think Jerry gave me his number and then he just didn't stop phoning me. He just started driving me mental, which was good, I remember my mum, "It's that fella on the phone again." Jerry was good at organising stuff within, a few weeks of meeting. It was, I'll book up a rehearsal room and let's start, which was great. Sort of 3 to 4 weeks after meeting Jerry, we booked here, the Alaska Studios. You're going to play drums? Okay, I'll play drums, and Kev play guitar. And as I said earlier, we just started copying the Ants songs.
The guys in Martian Dance were all fans of the Ants, or the Ants that I was in, and Adam was very paternal towards the original Ants fans, the original hardcore group that used to follow us around all over the country and stuff. And it would have been his decision, and he would have said, "Yeah, if you guys got a band and you're any good," which they were, why not open for us?
When we used to follow them, we used to go and sleep in their PA van in the middle of winter up in Bradford, and come out shaking like this. You'd been locked in the thing all night, but you'd do it just to be near where the Ants were and to go into Adam's room where he's having his coffee in the morning and have a chat. You just feel a bit special. So to be supporting them as minions of theirs, as they used to call us, it was great. It was a great feeling. It's fantastic.
After supporting Adam and the Ants, Martian Dance signed on to make a single with EMI. It was called The Situation.
not a great deal, you know. I think it was just 2 singles, you know, with an option on an album.
The person responsible for the deal was the band's manager, Tracy Lamont.
Yeah, she was a bit of a off the wall, to say the least, you know, with crazy ideas how to raise money, and she would basically go in, you know, all the record companies and drive them mad, you know, basically take our demos and say, this is the best fucking bag there, and you better sign them.
This is the 100 Club, where Martian Dance were said to have graced the stage 12 times between 1980 and 1982.
So that stage is exactly the same stage that everyone has played on. So Martian Dance have been on there, along with Muddy Waters and the Sex Pistols and the Specials and Hugh Laurie.
This would have been where, like, my dad would have gotten ready and stuff, because he wore a lot of makeup and stuff on stage, especially in the 80s when it was going into the New Romantics.
The spirit of your dad's in this room, and like all the others, definitely, there's no question about that.
He used to have a bit of banter with the audience, but he wanted to keep it perhaps a bit not too friendly, because you create the little bit of distance there, which with an image like Martian Dance I thought was, you know, it worked.
He wasn't content just hanging about in the crowd, I don't think. I think he very much had a view that he was going to perform.
I remember some write-ups we got, and some of them weren't very complimentary to him, to be fair, the way he looked. They described him as strange looking and hideous. One of them described him as, you know, with his makeup on, he had this strange outfit. But he didn't give a shit, he just wanted to be noticed. Because he had loads of ideas, and you look back on his lyrics now and they're fantastic for a lad like that didn't have a particularly formal education.
On the weekend, that's a ball. I want to be on the move, in the right mood, make tracks, unwind, relax.
If Jerry didn't have the money to get into a club, he would wait for someone of notoriety to stroll in, and he would accompany them.
And we're all hanging around at the entrance to this club, and lo and behold, this big bundle of people ran it, but pushed in with bouncers and everything, and it was David Bowie. So anyway, but somehow Jerry managed to squeeze in. He managed to get in there, so he was in there for about, about an hour. We were just hanging out outside.
Jerry would walk into somewhere, and if he wanted something, he would go in and he would take it.
Growing up, my dad always had a habit of splurging, which was fueled by his gambling on horse races. I decided to meet up with my grandfather in Sussex and ask him where he thought this side to my dad may have originated.
A question really was most with him throughout your life was money. You know, that's what he should have called himself in middle name, Money.
I know, yeah. No, it's true. It's true.
I was always into racing, as you know. He picked that up in no time at all. Perhaps that was my fault. One of my faults rubbed off on him.
There were strange things that used to go on. He was a big gambler, your dad, Jerry, and a lot of our money went on his horses and up his nose and on his cab fares and things like that. And we was scrabbling together to get the train to places, and he's turning up in a cab, snorting away in the car. And he tried to sell my guitar, which I wasn't best pleased about, but we had a little bit of a fight.
The betting shop was next to the cafe, both of which he would call his office. So if he's not home, I'm at the office, yeah, absolutely.
A fan of Martian Dance shared her story of meeting my dad and the manager Tracy one night after a gig.
He lifted me on the stage, got me and took me to the room behind the stage, and then suddenly I hear these footsteps, literally, bloop, 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 someone marching with real sort of like purpose, and the door burst open, and into the room comes this lady who I now know to be Tracy. She just said, "What are you doing in my dressing room with my husband? Get out!"
Yep, that's right. In addition to being Martian Dance's manager, Tracy Lamont was married to my dad, and I was soon to find out just how much their relationship had an influence on Martian Dance.
What annoys me about Spandau Ballet?
I don't really want, all this sort of thing that I get quite annoyed about. I don't want to be seeing this. Yeah. I mean, sort of like you trying to put a point of view over, I mean, as a manager, and I'm not interested.
No, I was just talking then.
Yeah, they were very loving towards each other, but they were both strong individuals who had their own identity in that relationship as well.
Though hearing my dad was married at 18 was a shock, it didn't feel unlike his character. I knew I had to find Tracy so that I could hear the story of my dad's musicianship from presumably the person closest to him. For months, I had been contacting people associated with Martian Dance, and none of them had seen or heard from Tracy in years. I found one band Tracy managed in the 90s called Gay Bikers on Acid, messaged them, and heard back shortly after. They weren't interested. You must have known their manager then, Tracy Lamont. Do you remember?
I remember as a very a bit like Jerry, quite a charismatic, quite a Hollywood couple for punk rock.
As the two of them, they were a team. They were very much, for better or for worse, dependent upon each other.
Were you at the wedding?
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, the wedding was a complete and utter fiasco.
For us, it was just it's when you're a giggling kid, it was all. And you look along the line and someone starts laughing.
We were attempting to keep straight faces.
And it was just like we couldn't look at each other and everyone's don't fucking look at me, because we were all just pissing ourselves, but obviously trying to keep quiet so it weren't going to ruin the ceremony,
I was able to retrieve the wedding certificate from Camden Registry, hoping it might give me a new lead as to where Tracy could be. Okay. We got a last name. Or we got a middle name. Tracy Allison Collier. And what happened next surprised all of us. So, sitting here, chatting with Isabel, just hanging out, and what do I get? I get a message from Gay Bikers on Acid, which I think is a link to Tracy's Facebook. So, yeah, we just found Tracy Lamont. Yes!
It was a laugh. He was a real laugh. He was full of everything. He was so impressed with himself. I got them everything. We had the London Ants crew behind us. We had everything. I'm sorry to say this to you, as a manager and his ex-first wife, the gambling ruined his career.
Jerry was someone who was kind of destined to, it's like your Hendrix or your Johnny Thunders, someone who's not destined to become old.
That was your dad. That was your dad. That was your Martian Dad.
Tracy's interview was my last, and a triumphant one indeed. Though the journey was coming to an end, I knew there was bound to be more to my dad's story that I hadn't even touched upon. But it didn't matter. In the end, I got what I wanted most, to see my dad through someone else's eyes. I feel that part of him was always Jerry Lamont, with or without a stage to walk upon.
No one heard falsetto screams, city dreams, and by land, murder, suicide, misadventure.